I'm here with Casey, and we are working on Pythagorean identities. Lacey's here too. We're working on Pythagorean identities. So if we start with this most basic of Pythagorean identities, sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1, I'm going to show you how this is the only one you have to memorize. Okay, so we know this. I just circled it because it's that important. Okay, and now what we're going to do is derive all the other Pythagorean identities. So first, what I'm going to do is take this identity and I'm going to divide everybody in this by sine squared theta. So if I do that, sine divided by sine, or sine squared divided by sine squared is going to be 1. Cosine squared divided by sine squared is going to be cotangent squared. Ooh, I just broke a pencil. Good thing we got backups. Okay. Cotangent squared theta. Okay. And 1 divided by sine squared theta is going to equal cosecant squared theta. So now I have derived another Pythagorean identity. So I know that cosecant squared theta is equal to 1 plus cotangent squared theta. And I know that cotangent squared theta would have to equal cosecant squared theta minus 1. So cotangent squared theta would have to equal cosecant squared theta minus 1. So I've solved for that, and I've solved for that. Okay, cool. Now, we're going to try this again. We're going to take sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta, our most basic of Pythagorean identities. And we are going to divide by cosine squared theta this time. So divide the whole kit and caboodle by cosine squared theta. So we know that sine divided by cosine is tangent. So we get tangent squared theta plus, we know that cosine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is 1 equals, and 1 over cosine squared theta, 1 over cosine is secant squared theta. So we now know that secant squared theta is equal to tangent squared plus 1. We also know that tangent squared theta is going to equal secant squared theta minus 1. So tangent squared theta equals secant squared theta minus 1. So we've solved for that one. So we have now solved for cosecant, cotangent, secant, and tangent. The only two that we have not solved for are sine and cosine, but guess what? Sine squared theta has to equal what? 1 minus cosine? Yep, 1 minus cosine squared theta, if we just subtract cosine from both sides. So that's what sine is equal to, sine squared. And cosine squared theta would have to equal 1 minus sine squared theta. So just by knowing this one basic Pythagorean identity, you can divide everybody by sine squared theta, you can divide everybody by cosine squared theta, and you can find out what all the other trig functions squared are equal to. I hope this helps you a little bit with Pythagorean identities. This was fun.